Well, you're all very welcome to another episode of the Business of E-commerce with John Leach of WSI. Hello, how are you, John? How are you today?
Good morning, Brandon. Well, we're obviously enjoying the nice weather, and even though you might think good weather only impacts ice cream sellers, it can actually also impact online sales. So we've seen a little dip as people have got away from their laptops. Not so easy to get away from your phones these days, but I think people have other things in their mind over the last week or so.
Yeah,
and
we
shouldn't complain.
And the other thing, John, is you know with Irish weather, people listening back to this podcast now in October, when it's miserable and rainy, at least we can say this is the proof that we did have beautiful weather in July.
Yeah, we actually hit 30 degrees. Well, who would have thought?
Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? We've got a really, really good panel of guests today. So we're looking for another great conversation, which we have every week, really. And it just shows the energy that's out there with e-commerce business in Ireland at the moment. You know, we have Becky Harrison's from Fishers.ie. We've got Sarah O'Connor from Holly and Willow. Holly and Willow. My God, I'm wrong already. We've got Robert Shields there all the way from Donegal, and he's the e-commerce coordinator at the Coop Donegal. We've got George Allen, who I've been told is on holidays and working through his holidays here from Feel Good Bicycles. So we're looking for a really, really good chat. And of course, Anne-Marie and Emer up there from Wild Atlantic Wicks. So we'll be chatting to all of them in a few minutes and get just the lowdown on how their businesses are going. But first, John, we focus on a different topic every week, really. And this week, it really, because of the mix of businesses that we have on the panel here, there's one thing that you're identifying, which can be a real challenge with regard to e-commerce, and that is getting the conversion rate right, because you've got people here who are selling really products at low cost, and you've got high cost products as well. So there's a real challenge, isn't there, in how you actually get it just right so that your conversion rate is right, because one type of sales, I presume, John, you're the expert in this, will require kind of like going mad to get traffic and volume and all that. And the other is slightly different. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I think, Brendan, we're looking at the variety of businesses we have with us today. What it sort of struck me was that, like, when you have a big range of price points, and we're talking everything from a €30 candle at one end of the spectrum today, and maybe a €5,000 mountain bike on the other. And we very often think about, how many visitors do we have? What's our conversion rate? But actually, two other vital metrics that are really key for most e-commerce businesses to track and to measure is your average order value and your customer lifetime value. And the reason for that really is, because they really determine how much you can afford to invest in driving your marketing or advertising to acquire new customers and sales. And, particularly if you're trying to grow an online business, that's a really important metric to understand and to know what you can afford. So for brands and merchants who are, selling lower price point tickets, and I wouldn't say low cost, I mean, they're just lower price points, they have to be very efficient to ensure that the traffic in the first instance converts well. But more than that, I think to succeed into the long term, they have to focus on programs to either increase the order value, and that can be sometimes through, volume discounts or bundle deals or merchandising really well for related products. Or the other area is to nurture these new customers that they bring to the site into repeat buyers, because ultimately I think that's probably the best route to success. And when you look at the economics, it's fairly simple, really. You pay for your advertising typically on a pay-per-click basis in most cases. So the cost, to get that new click, multiplied by your conversion rate, that's what gives you the number that is actually the cost to acquire a new customer. So a simple example is, you know, if your cost per click is 50 cents and your conversion rate is 5%, which for a lot of merchants is pretty decent, we've higher, we've lower, then a new customer, every new customer you get is going to cost you 10 euros. So they only come once and buy one product for 25 euros, you know, there's a pretty good chance that that's not very profitable. If on the other hand, you do a good job of nurturing that customer and they come back and buy 4 products at 25 euros each for the next 3 years, then that 10 euros resulted in 300 euros of the business. And that's a much better position to be in. So you need to know that value, not guess it, really focus on it and develop towards that over time. And then, you know, the other piece of this is how you do that. And we'll probably get to talk a little bit about that this morning around email campaigns, loyalty programs, how you sort of engage the customer with really good content after they've made that purchase. And then on the other side of the equation this morning, we're probably looking at somebody going to make a 5,000 euro purchase. And if I'm going to do that online, you know, as a business or an e-commerce operator, I have to do everything to reassure that customer that they're making the right choice. So in that case, you know, the place to focus might be on your conversion rate, making sure that it's really good. And then really making sure that I answer every possible concern or issue that the customer might have around that product. So your product pages typically have to be really, really good. And they have to have all of the elements like, you know, reviews. And we're even seeing a growth in embedding video reviews and video explainers into those product pages to help really convince, you know, the person that this is the right product for them. In line with that, eMarketer has just published some US stats that show that, you know, while marketing spend took a dip at one point during the pandemic, you know, due to various programs being cut, it really has rebounded now. And the range of investment is from 6 to 14% of a revenue typically back into driving traffic and advertising. And that's a real cost in e-commerce that we have to be mindful for, we have to account for, and we have to make sure that we're getting the maximum efficiency from it. So, you know, I think I'm really interested this morning just to see if any of our partners this morning have come up to any interesting solutions to these problems or challenges, or have they met these challenges, and how we might share our experiences around these sort of topics as we go along this morning.
Great, John. Thanks a million. No, it's a great intro, because we know who's on the panel, and you know, those challenges are there. The high volume sales versus the high cost, if you like. Let me start with Rebecca Harrison there from Fishers.ie. Tell us about yourself and tell us about Fishers.ie first.
Hi, Brendan. John, brilliant introduction. I have all sorts of things to notions, I suppose, to come back on those topics. Thanks so much for having me on. Yeah, so Fishers of Newtown Kennedy is a family business. We're around 42 years, coming into the 43rd year at the moment. So we're around a while. I didn't found the business, obviously, but we are. So I'm the third family member to run the business, but the second generation. And I've been running it for the last 11 years. So we're a physical bricks and mortar store. Historically and still today, and we have our foundations were in the very brief product history is our foundations were in country clothing, men's country clothing, and then we expanded to women's country clothing, and now we're a lifestyle boutique department store, so we have a wide range of products, and a lot of what we're about, like John was saying, was around that we've a fantastically loyal customer base. We've a really strong loyalty program in store. We are very much around creating customers, not sales. So that repeat and customer lifetime piece really resonates with me, John, that you were saying. And actually one of our challenges now coming onto the e-commerce side is how do we do that online as opposed to in store, where you have those personal connections. So that is certainly one of our challenges, and hopefully we will find solutions for that. In terms of our online story, we've had a website since the late 1990s, early 2000. It was a brochure website to start. Our first transactional website was in 2009, where we just sold vouchers online. And then we basically had a whole heap of failed attempts at getting an e-commerce proper site up on board, for a variety of reasons. We were a little bit slow, purposely slow. We chose to take our time with it. We had two main reasons for that. One is that the shop was very important. Our stock, we weren't going to set it up as a sort of an immediate second store, so we'd have a separate warehouse. So we were going to be using the stock from the shop, and so the integration of our EPOS system was vital for us to go online, because I didn't want to sell something in store and the stock levels be wrong online, or vice versa. And that was really difficult, finding a system that allowed that to happen in a way that worked for us. And we were really surprised at how difficult it was, actually, because you're sort of thinking, oh, for Christ's sake, there's so many businesses that are online and in bricks and mortar stores. Surely this is a basic feature. And it appeared not to be, without going bespoke and spending hundreds of thousands of euro, which we weren't in a position to do. So that was one of our first challenges. And then the other piece, and again, was around the logistics of it. So there was so much pushing for, building a website. And building a website is relatively straightforward. We've all dealt with lots of website developers who make it not very straightforward, but in the greater scheme of things, that was something that was relatively straightforward. But actually, when you look at the distribution, the returns, all of that whole process, particularly 10 years ago, the systems have changed dramatically in that time. So we hesitated purposely because we didn't feel we had the resources, financially and human, to put into it to do it right. But as it happened, we progressed, and we went through. We got the Leo trading online voucher at that sort of in the mid 2010s, and in 2016 then we created a proper online store, having had several failed attempts. And we sort of we populated with some products straight away, but again, we took our time thinking, okay, well, how are we going to do this? Are we going to go niche? We're a reseller of branded products, so most of our clothing is widely available in other stores, certainly globally. We have some brands that might be exclusive to us in Ireland, but they're brands. They're not. It's not a product, if you like, that we're making or manufacturing or sourcing just for us. So we're very aware of the competition and the availability and the pricing online as well. And again, we're a small independent retailer. We're not with the big boys in terms of volume. So we were saying, okay, well, do we need to go niche? Do we go back to our roots in terms of that country clothing end of things? So we took a lot of time to kind of work out where we needed to be. And also with limited resources, as I said, in store. But in 2019, it was our 40th anniversary, the business 40th anniversary, and we had decided at that stage that the website, the infrastructure was really sound. We had a good, strong infrastructure base on our website, and we just needed the time and effort and energy to populate it with our stock. So at that time, the end of the year, we had said, right, from spring 2020, this was going to be our focus. So like, we were so lucky. So we had actually got in place the human resources to be able to start doing that for spring 2020. So we were incredibly lucky, obviously, with the way things were. Obviously, we know what happened. We know what happened then. The store shut, and we had to focus our energies entirely on the website. So our website had been ticking along. We had stock on it to a point. It ticked along very, very gently. Our online sales versus our in-store sales. Our online sales were less than 5% of our total sales. Probably closer to 2 or 3%, to be honest, on an annual basis. So obviously we needed to ramp up and go with it. But the start of the lockdown, I know other of your guests have talked about this already, but the start of the lockdown was a really interesting period. So we knew we had the infrastructure there to do it. We had the stock, tons of stock just being delivered, and we didn't have a shop to sell it. But there was a big hesitancy at the start. I don't know if you will recall this, but we were really going, okay, we can't really market to anyone. Everyone's lost their jobs. Was sort of this overlying, and of course they hadn't. But at the time, the headlines were about people losing jobs, about only investing in essential things, and this whole essential versus non-essential. And we were like, okay, we're not essential. This is a luxury purchase. It's clothing. It's a gift. It's whatever else. I don't know if it's right to market it. Now, we got over that very quickly, and we got on with it as everyone else did, and it was fine. So during the last year and a half, we've really pushed it on. It turned out that we've just put all our stock online. We didn't go down the kind of niche route, or all the stock that we could easily. So we use our suppliers' images for the most part. We do some photography ourselves, and we just got on with it and got it up there. And we were really lucky, coming back to that piece around the customer. We have a really strong customer loyalty program, so we were able to market to them straight away to say, look, you can still get your favorite Fishers items, clothing online. This is where you go, this is where you do it. Now, our customer base is quite broad, but we would have a good contingent of older customers who maybe aren't as computer savvy as some of the younger ones. And so there's a little bit of an education piece needed with that. So that was another interesting challenge. But it's worked really, really well for us. And obviously we were incredibly grateful to be able to, we weren't up and running, but we were able to get up and running really quickly because the infrastructure and the resources.
So customer loyalty was the key for you.
Absolutely. So initially that's what really helped with us. We obviously tied it in with advertising and using influencers and all of those other marketing tools that we can get into. But certainly having that initial base and the loyal customer base was huge, absolutely huge. And we found, it was really interesting, we found in our menswear collections particularly, so we've one of our strongest menswear brands is Willow, which make trousers. They're a sort of a trouser house from Germany. They do fabulous quality trousers, and we have a lot of customers that would come every year and buy their Willow trousers. They know what size they are, they know they fit, they know they work, and the amount of Willow trousers we sold online was just brilliant. And it was to older people that hadn't bought online ever before, but they knew the product, so they were confident to buy it online.
They probably knew the product and who they were dealing with, so you had that trust environment. You were able to build on it. You had a good infrastructure there. It was just a question of accelerating it, so you were really in a good position. And those sort of clients that we've worked with over the last 18 months, like there's been a lot of people who are in that position that they had done some stuff and had some stuff in place, and then this was just the opportunity to just go accelerate it. And they were in the best position. They were absolutely in the best position compared to those who had done nothing. No matter how poor your previous attempts were, it was still better to have done that and learn from it and now be ready to go forward again.
Yeah, no, we're lucky, and we're still learning, and I'm sure there's other people on this call
it never stops.
Are so far more advanced than we are, but it has been a fantastic journey. We then, I suppose, the next phase then, and I suppose it's like everything at the moment, it's that fast learning in a short period of time. So we applied for the Enterprise Ireland Online Retail Scheme grant, which was for larger businesses, and we got it last year, and we worked with the company with that, and that really helped us, I suppose, finesse what we had and really strengthen the foundations of it. We also really developed our I suppose all those tools that are available to us through Facebook and Instagram and Google in terms of the shopping, and we invest quite a lot on the sort of online digital advertising side, alongside our organic messaging and whatever else, and that's been really interesting. And actually we've seen a really good return on that too, coming back to your cost per click and working out what's worth it and what's not. And we've sort of done again against what we originally thought we would. We sort of did a blanket thing, so we just put up our whole product range, and our products range from a $350 little gadget to a tweed jacket for €400 or something like that. So there is a wide range there, and it's funny, you get the order for like a card for $350 and it comes in online and you're like going, really? And then this has to be posted, it's not going to be there for 2 days, and it's you sort of wonder.
But to be honest,
they want it.
To be honest, Rebecca, I think that's the right decision. I mean, because we've had a lot of experience in the past where, particularly when mobile was becoming a thing and people were producing a mobile version of the site versus the desktop, customer wants to deal with the complete business. They don't want to be offered a subset, really. Your online business is a replica of what you do in bricks and mortar. So I think it was the right decision. And of course, you can optimize those campaigns to focus on the profitable products or the big ticket items, and that's the key to making that work.
And John, you're going on about that all through the series. It gives just a fuller view for the customer, really, doesn't it?
You can't have a second hand. You can't have a second class experience. Exactly. If you're used to seeing this broad range when you walk into the store, that's what they're going to expect online, and you have to deliver that including the niche products and corner products that you're not really keen on, but that's part of what you offer, so therefore has to be included.
I want to go to Sarah now just to hear about Holly and Willow, because it's a different kind of business again. Sarah, tell us about the business itself and your own experience getting into it.
Yeah, so I guess it's been a bit of a crazy year for us, as any like small business owner will know. So basically Holly and Willow is a family run business. It's run by both my mom, Carrie, and I. We're based in Kerry and our business is completely online. All our sales are done through our e-commerce website, and all our designs are created and fulfilled in our home studio. So it can be a bit of a madhouse at times. Really, Holly and Willow is a relatively new business. We only really launched our e-commerce platform in June of 2020, so it's only over a year old. It's very much a lockdown business, and the idea really came about in April because my work placement that was part of my university program was cancelled, and my mom was working as an SNA at the time. So we kind of put our heads together and we were like, right, we're going to do something with this free time. And the idea for Faux Flowers really came about as my mom would have been in the wedding flower industry. So we kind of just started out making a few prototypes of ideas we had and gifted them to friends and family. And we honestly just got really good feedback from it, and the idea kind of just took legs from there. And we just went with it really. At the beginning, we kind of built our following organically on Instagram. We kind of took customer orders through the Instagram page, and as that got busier, we saw that there was a huge market potential for this, and we created our e-commerce platform. Really, at the moment, we cater towards B2C, but that could change. There's a lot of opportunity for B2B, but we're currently specializing in high quality faux flower arrangements. For us, really, the lockdown was quite beneficial. I know that it was quite tough in a lot of businesses, but for us, it really just cascaded our business into success, which probably wouldn't have happened without the lockdown. I think people just spending more time in their living space, and just also a lot of more time on our phones and internet, that we're kind of started buying more online, and also the whole thing around buying Irish really helped us. Yeah.
So you're this week's pandemic baby then, Sarah. Every week we've turned up one that's a new business that started as part of the pandemic, which is great.
Yeah, it's had its benefits to us, definitely. And
Sarah, the faux flowers, just to explain for people who don't understand.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they're those beautiful flowers behind you there. Are they faux flowers?
They wouldn't really be what we specialize in now, to be honest, but we do have them on the website. What really took off for us basically was artificial door wreaths. They'd be very high quality flowers, so they kind of are what we specialize in at the moment, but there's so much opportunity in this to cater for hotels and stuff. It's just really just finding the time between the two.
And I'm just curious about the craft behind it. Do you make the faux flowers yourself?
We don't. We have suppliers for the faux flowers, so they come individually, and we then create a design into a wreath that is then sold on the website. So it's kind of just like classical floristry, only it lasts forever. So.
Yeah. And is it any way seasonal, Sarah? I mean, I would have when you talk about wreaths, I would have thought it would be quite a seasonal business, but clearly that's not the case.
No, not at all. Like, obviously Christmas was absolutely manic for us, but I think Ireland has become a little bit Americanized in ways. Autumn was huge for us last year, with people getting Halloween wreaths and just autumn decor, also Easter and Mother's Day. We also do dried flower gift boxes, which were pretty popular for like gifting for Mother's Day and even birthdays and stuff. So they're
Right,
like,
so I guess it's I guess the trick there is it's seasonal, but seasonal all the year round, because there's a different
there's always something.
There's always something coming up.
I think now would be probably your quietest time, just because of the good weather, and it's just changing seasons from summer to autumn, so people wouldn't really be as busy, but we are kept going. We're always trying to keep up with the demand, to be honest. It's one of our biggest pitfalls, is that we can't really keep up to demand at the moment, which is absolutely great.
Not a bad complaint. Not at
all.
And your demographic in terms of audience, I mean, is it mainly female? Is that stereotypical at this time, or?
I suppose it would be mostly female, but you would get our male clients are mostly gifting to the special lady in their life, but I would say that it is a complete mixture, especially over lockdown. We found that a lot of guys were from like Australia and the US were sending gifts over to their mom or dad, loved ones that they hadn't seen. Even now, like everyone's stuck over there for the last year and a half. So
that's a nice audience.
And actually, Sarah, just on that point, would you be delivering overseas much, or is it an Irish delivery all the time?
We do deliver overseas. Obviously, there's going to be a cost with that, and the wreaths can be quite heavy. So generally, it is just in Ireland. At the start, we were kind of catering towards the British UK as well, but with Brexit, it kind of became a little bit difficult. Just in terms of sorting out all the logistics and stuff that goes with that. So mostly it would be Ireland, but to be honest, the market is big enough in Ireland for it. We don't really have the capabilities of sending them overseas at the moment.
That's great.
Okay.
Good. Let's hop on our bicycles now and talk to George Allen, who is in Estonia at the moment on holidays. And George, you're the owner of Feel Good Bicycles. Tell us about that.
That's right. So over here on holidays, my wife is Estonian, so we got to get over here and see the Estonian side of the family and bring the kids over, which is great. And Feel Good Bicycles, we started a little over 4 years ago. Took over a bicycle shop and rebranded and renamed it as Feel Good Bicycles. Mostly it's offline, in-store sort of business. But online, I've always felt has been incredibly important to really focus on. From the start, I suppose, similar to Rebecca, we've had a few failed attempts at getting the online transactional websites going. A lot of it through trying to find a platform, trying to find something that would work with our EPOS system in the shop, and stock levels be the same across the online and in store without mistakes happening is quite important. So we're really happy with what we've got now. So it took a few goes to get it, and we've been really busy and really successful in the bike shop up until the start of the lockdown, when everything just took off and we were 5 times busier than we normally would be. So very early on, when everything was closed, I kind of was sort of panicking, going, oh my goodness, I really need to get this online store going, after kind of trying and not really getting anywhere with it. So kind of got the platform sorted, spent a lot of time getting products online for a few weeks, and then after that, when things just took off in the shop, completely forgot about it, because there was no time whatsoever to do anything but just try to keep up with demand. But since then, managed to catch up on ourselves, and I suppose really only in the last 6 to 8 months as we've kind of really pushing on. We've did a major redesign of the site and relaunched there last April to coincide with the 4th birthday of the shop. We've I just hired part-time guys to put stock online and try and get the product pages together. As you were saying earlier, that like a €5,000 bicycle product page has to be really good. It's selling the bike now. At the moment, it's very easy because bicycles are in such huge demand. If you have it, you'll sell it.
Right.
And the main thing for us is with the conversion rate is getting people to trust us, who we are, and try to get across who we are and our personalities and our customer service and what we provide, to bring that across in the online space, because we do it really, really well in store, and trying to just figure out how to get that across online has been
which is one of the interesting things, like in terms of your checkout process, where you were explaining that, you know, it had to be assembled, tested, repackaged for shipping, like that there was a lot of work and therefore a lot of care going into the whole process. I thought that was an interesting element to what your checkout process was including. I thought it was a really, really useful piece towards helping build that confidence and trust with the customer.
Yeah, I think it's trying to really put across all that time and effort that we put into it, because if you don't explain it, then it's hard for them to see it. Like you can buy bicycle products and bikes from a lot of very, very large online retailers, and often they'll be a lot cheaper as well. Like the price discounting is crazy. Sometimes pre-pandemic or pre-shortages, you could find things that were the same price as trade price, or even less for certain components. At the moment now, with shortages, everything is online at full price, even from big box retailers. So that's not such a challenge.
Yeah.
But in the next couple of years, that will come back again. So trying to use this time to really to place ourselves in the market, to get across who we are, and gain those customers, those repeat loyal customers, and nurture them for repeat business, so that when the things do change a little bit more back to normal and there's more supply, and the big box, the big online retailers will be becoming more competitive again, that we have that loyal customer base.
And I think that's a really valid point, George, a really interesting one, because, you know, up until now, pre-pandemic, we've had a lot of businesses, you know, experimenting, playing, some businesses doing nothing at all, realizing that was now a big mistake. I think the trick for businesses through this period is getting that process efficient, but also not so much even just the basic infrastructure and products, which is all fairly well developed now, but it's understanding your customer, segmenting your customer, because that's going to be where the real battleground is, I think, going forward. It's how you build that tribe, that audience, and around your key digital assets and bringing them close to you, because that's the only thing that's going to give you protection, I think, when discounting and everything else starts to happen again. So that's going to be key over this time. And like, we probably jumped forward 5 or 6 years in our progression. We probably fall back a year or two as things open up again, but we've definitely accelerated. Like, this is the trajectory that everything is on. So we good retailers, good businesses, I think, have to continue to learn how to make this successful.
There's no going back, is there, John?
No,
in terms of...
no, it's not. It doesn't go back. It'll vary. It may go forward at a different pace, but it's a definite forward projection.
Let's go to beautiful Donegal now and talk to Robert Shields. How are you, Robert? And George, we'll be back to you. Don't worry but for more. Robert, tell us about the Cope Dunlow and your own role as e-commerce coordinator there.
I will, Shirley. Thanks very much, folks, for having me on. So my own role here, I am the e-commerce coordinator for the Cope Dunlow, and while e-commerce is still fairly new to the business, the Cope itself is, this will be our 115th year in business.
You don't look it, Robert.
I'm telling you, it's all in the skin routines. So, but the Coop itself was an agricultural cooperative society, and that's how it was founded here in the west of Donegal. Today, the Coop is a multifaceted business. We have grocery businesses across 4 towns. We have a builders providers, and we have a department store here in Dunlow. The e-commerce side of things is mainly focused around our department store and our clothing businesses. And I think, yeah, I can echo a lot of the points that Rebecca and George have come across there in taking a brick and mortar business like our department store online. And yeah, those are where most of our challenges lie, really. In our offering, we want to keep our experience and our offering the same online. We want to give our customer base that same product selection, but we also want to focus our time and energy on the products that make sense for online. So it's striking that balance all the time. Like the last year for us was much the same roller coaster that a lot of retailers faced. We were lucky that our e-commerce operation was in a good place when everything happened. So we were more or less ready to go when the opportunity came. But I think the difference here being that the Coop itself is so embedded in the community here, and our customer base is incredibly local and incredibly loyal to that. And I think when the time came, we had a ready-made customer base for online, because our local customer base wanted to support us still, but they couldn't, but they could online. So I think we were very lucky in that way in terms of customer acquisition. When we needed to push online, we had a ready-made base who were ready to still support us online. That does mean that we have to deal with the waves of lockdowns and no lockdowns, but it made us shift our focus to nearly service provision when we had to, because we felt that our customer base locally, it wasn't that they purely wanted to support us online, but they needed the services as well, and the products from us. So it made us look into avenues like local delivery, same day delivery, and next day delivery locally, to keep that service provision high and make sure that we nurtured that local customer base, so that when it was time to come back to retail.
And that's a really interesting one, Robert, because sometimes we think about e-commerce, hey, we can sell to the world, which is true in theory, but very, very different in practice. So in terms of, do you see it still being very local going forward? Just making a really good job of serving that local customer base, or does part of your strategy say, well, maybe we can grow our geographic coverage here?
Our growth strategy is definitely to expand and to make the use of the reach that we have available to us. But I think it's always with the idea of keeping that local service provision high. We've opened ourselves to new markets, surely, but I think as well our local customers have opened themselves to the idea of shopping online with us. Maybe that never would have shopped online.
Or equally shopping online generally. So suddenly they've just brought all your competition from everywhere else in. So it's almost a negative from that point of view. But
it is, surely, yeah. It's while it's opened their eyes to shopping online with the Coop, like you said, it's also looking for the same. But we are a department store. We stock a lot of larger name clothing brands. So once you enter into that space, you're exposing yourself to a lot of competition immediately, which our brick and mortar operations wouldn't be used to. Being such a part of the community here. But having said that, we're always growing and we're always learning. Like I said, the challenges that we face are much the same as any other brick and mortar, getting our stock right, getting our in-store operation, talking to our online operation. But we're always learning, and
And I think part of what I would sense from what you'd focus on would be very much that customer service element, that same day delivery, which is not so easy. Like next day delivery is actually pretty available now, even on Post do a really good job on that. But if you can do same day delivery, you know, in your local area, or really good click and collect, like we've seen that being a good differentiator for some clients, because they like the convenience. You know, we're all sort of time starved, even you know, in these days of lockdowns and everything else.
Yeah.
So to be able to rock up, know what I want is there, ready for me, collect it, pay for it, move on. I mean, that's attractive. It's really attractive to people as an element of service in the whole thing.
It is, yeah.
Because you really don't want to be in any business being a commodity competing on price, because that's generally, there's only one winner in that game, and it's more likely to be Amazon or eBay or somebody else, and not you. So you have to try and find other ways of, you have to be competitive price wise, but not be competing on price. That's always a dead end.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that, yeah, the services like the local delivery and the click and collect, that we, you know, pushed and refined over the course of the last year. Now we, you know, we'll look at taking services like the local delivery in and out as resource allows, but you know, our click and collect will always be there. And I think, yeah, the last year has done wonders for opening our customer base up to those services.
Yeah.
So we're
and it'd be surprising even when you mentioned like a farming, you know, co-op agricultural sort of base. I mean, that industry and cohort is so used to doing stuff. Like there are so many agricultural providers. I've been lucky enough to work with a couple, and I was amazed at the amount of business and delivery and online stuff they do over the last 2 or 3 years. It's not just pandemic, but it is. They are so open to it, and they find it so convenient. It really works well.
Yeah, that's been good.
Now, let me turn to Anne-Marie and Emer, and I nearly want to say to you both, thanks very much. I make a hot chocolate for you now because you were so patient waiting through all of this, and we've got such great panelists today that it took us a while to get to you, but you're from the beautiful Wild Atlantic, and yeah, where exactly on the Wild Atlantic are you based?
We're in Galway, so right in the heart of it, I think you'd say, and the sun is shining now, so there's nowhere in the world like it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you anyway, because I'm in Galway also. So tell us about Wild Atlantic Wicks.
So I think we're also the pandemic babies. Our business started last October. Basically born out of maybe a love of candles that we have ourselves, and we looked for something that we would like to buy, but it kind of took us by surprise in that we started very small. I mean, everything is produced and manufactured in our own homes, which, like Sarah said, can be a bit chaotic at times, and maybe especially around Christmas. But we started very small with just one local pharmacy taking on our range, and then we went online. And what we actually found online is that we have 2 ranges of products, and the one that we expected to sell really well did sell, but it was the other one where we were thinking, is there much of an audience for this, that really took off? And it's a range of candles that are, I think, probably unique in that they're made with a wooden wick, so they're different to what you see, because what we looked to create was something that we couldn't find and something that we like the elements of. So unique scents, a wooden wick, and we leverage the Irish language. So a lot of our products are Irish, the Irish language, with a saying or a quote, and we found that they're very, very popular. So what's really good is that we can adapt really quickly. So during lockdown, you know, trying to see the positive in it, we had a candle that said hope in Irish with the Seamus Heaney quote. And I think that was our biggest seller during lockdown. You know, I think people looked inwards to their own community and to Ireland and wanted to, you know, really support local business, but also, you know, appreciated a lot more what was around them. And the Irish language candles just really took us by surprise. They're selling really well. And also, we've noticed that what happened, our experience from using e-commerce and Instagram, is that one example is somebody bought a candle online as a present for somebody. That person then opened a coffee shop and gift shop, and are now our biggest retail supplier. We can hardly keep them stocked because they really liked it. And I think that's happened maybe 3 times now, where through the e-commerce platform, where someone has bought a candle as a gift for someone, then they've gone on and said, well, actually, you know what, I'm opening a gift shop, and I'm opening, or I've diversified what I do. So what we found is people that maybe were just selling coffee have now expanded their range. So if there is another lockdown, they still open as a coffee shop or a food shop, but they also have a gift range. And kind of one thing led to another. So we expanded then. So I know you asked earlier, maybe Sarah, about the demographic around who's buying the candles. And what we've noticed is that we expanded our range to do like bicycle candles or cycling or sea swimming candles, all with an Irish twist on them. And we're using scents like Turks. Yeah.
And okay, you're going to have to explain what a bicycle candle is.
So it's a candle. It's a candle that says wreaths on the front of it, and it has a quote about owning a bike. So our local cycling shop here in Galway is actually stocking them, and they're kind of masculine scents. So not to be sexist, they're a big seller. And we're also looking at how we expand for next year, so different types of ranges.
Yeah, and I think again, just we never expected it to take off the way it did, and so quickly as well. And we started off on the e-commerce side with Big Cartel. I don't know if you're aware of. So they're basically like Shopify, but there's and it was just you could list 5 products for free. And then, which is exactly what we did. And then you pay, I think it's like $20. It's a US-based company, $20 per month. And you have your selling platform, and people pay through Stripe. So that was perfect for us. Now, as we are expanding, we may we will be looking to, build our own website that we can generate most of the sales from that, because what we find is that if we're selling sort of throughout different parts of the country as well, someone may be on holiday, pick up a candle, and they'll then search us through the website to then buy another candle. But it's how do you make candles look good on a website? Because most people will buy a candle because of the smell. So I think for us particularly, we have to have a good sort of online sort of social media presence as well, and we have a lot of sales driven through social media, Instagram, Facebook, mainly Instagram, I would say. So it's, I mean, the candle industry in Ireland, I think, is something like 30 million euros per year. So it's
we haven't made that yet. That's next year's target.
So I think there's always room to grow.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Another thing that
sorry,
go ahead, Brendan.
I was going to say what I really love about these candles, and John will know this straight away, is I'm a Gaeilgeoir anyway, and I love the use of the Irish language here, because it's front and center.
Yeah.
It's not twee. It's not just kind of for show. It's really good.
It's not tack.
No.
Yeah, but I think it comes back to,
like, we were very conscious.
Yeah, so sorry, Anne-Marie,
John, go ahead.
Cutting across. You're going to say, but I think the core point I would take from it is it's about, you have to be competitive, and to be competitive, you have to be different.
Yeah.
And if you're just the same, if you're just the same as everybody else, you're set up for failure. Let it be.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to everybody's business this morning, as we talked about it. You can't. You have big players in the market. They are accessible to people. If you're just trying to do the same thing that you're doing, which you can't do at the scale that they're doing, then you're not going to succeed. So it's all about finding the points of difference.
Exactly. Like, we're never going to be Yankee Candle, and we don't want to be. No. Like, we don't want to do, you don't want to walk into a supplier and see 30 of the same scent in a different jar. So we were really conscious of having unique scent. So you won't see like a lavender Wild Atlantic Wicks candles because you can get them anywhere. And another thing, like that Sarah said as well, we really found in lockdown, we were getting orders for the Irish candles. We've got one that says home in Irish, it's Balia, and it's a nice little saying, and it smells of turf. People in the US went mad for it, Irish Americans. And we also saw people at Christmas in Japan ordering for loved ones here, or in the UK. Like there's definitely, because we didn't want to have like a leprechaun range, so we wanted a nice Irish range, which promoted the Irish language.
How did you make your candles smell like turf?
We have a turf scent. We've and another big seller for us is a scent that's Cuban tobacco. And oak. So they're kind of you know, and I think it's the beauty of having your own business is that we can make decisions very quickly, and myself and Anne-Marie will just go, no, don't like that, why don't we do this, and it's done, you know. It's a fast pace, but you know, we started off with some Brendan and John, you'll know these sayings. So in Galway, loving is a really big saying. So we started off with a range with you know, Galway kind of sayings, or kind of unique sayings, but it was really the Irish language ones that really have blown us away. And we continue to get, you know, we're still kind of we're very excited about our project because it's something we really like. So again, we're very conscious of, exactly. So you kind of put your heart and soul into it, and you know, we're very lucky. Anne-Marie's background is photography and social media, so it's kind of, I just step back from that kind of.
No, that helps. I'm still sort of thinking of how to explain to a guard that I've got a candle out the front of my bike instead of a lamp, right? But anyway.
Well,
we'll send you
one, John, and you can get there.
Listen,
but I think people were going as well.
Continue,
go on, Brendan. Sorry.
No, continue, because I'm just going to do something.
No, I was just saying about the people were often saying that they were buying it as well for the sentiment. So it was because the candles are very different. So you could see online what you were buying, and they weren't necessarily buying it for the smell or the scent, but the sentiment that came with the candle. And I think when people hadn't seen their, you know, with a granny candle, and you know, they'd be sending them to their grannies because they hadn't seen them during lockdown, or their mothers or their sisters. And I think that that being able to that's a kind of being able to see it online on your e-commerce site and see the candle and see the sentiment on it, rather than just seeing a candle with just the name of the scent, not knowing, you know, what it smells like, you know.
And I've learned more, actually. As it happens, I've worked with two different candle retailers, if you like, which is something I knew absolutely nothing about 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. And so I now know more about soy wax and the fact that parfumized is so bad, and lots of things that are, you know, it's part of the joys of working with different clients. So it is a very interesting and certainly a growing area. I didn't
absolutely
amazed at how many different options are out there in the market.
And for us, we've got our kids involved in the process. There, you know, it's a
nothing beats child labor to grow a business. I can tell you that.
No, I'm telling you, the summer is long, Brendan. Summer is long. But I think it's, you know, for us, we're very excited about it, and we're very, very proud of it. And we still get such a kick when we walk in somewhere and see them on the shelf. And I think that comes across in the product, because we're not going to start making like anything that, you know, we're not proud of, or we wouldn't buy ourselves.
And one final thing I'd say about it is the connection between online and offline, which is probably just with the exception, Sarah, what you're doing at the moment, you know, in terms of, but for many brands and businesses, you know, having the website on the product and all the rest of it, so when somebody does buy, or like, where did you get that? Where can I get that? You know, having that information even there on the product, on the packaging, that sort of stuff. It's such a simple thing to do, and makes such a difference. And then being able to build the brand by having a physical presence in retail. Because I've worked with a couple of brands where they've tried to build everything online, And for certain products that will work, you know,
Yeah.
particularly if you're good on your social and growing your audience that way. But for many, they find that a struggle, and depending on the product, but having it physically, you know, in people's hands helps, you know, build that brand as well. So it's good to,
Great.
Yeah.
and it can also be counter-cyclical, particularly for candles, because summertime it's more tourist, maybe business gifts.
Yep.
Wintertime it's maybe more homeware, so you actually get your full year out of the product.
We're really pushed for time. We're
Yeah.
really pushed for time, guys, but I want to come to everybody for one quick comment just to finish up on. So in one sentence, I want you to tell me what's the key learning you've had with your online business over the last year. So just wrap it up in one sentence. I'll start with you this time, Sarah. What's the key thing you've learned over the last year?
I think it's probably personalization is key at every aspect of e-commerce platform. You really want to engage with your customers on a personal level, and that's really just helped us build our brand. Yeah.
Great. George?
Very similar to Sarah's, bringing our personality into the website, and people buy from people. So if we can show them who we are and what we do and why we do it and how much we love it, then we gain.
I like that. People buy from people. Robert?
Yeah, I think I would echo a lot of that. I think in the environment where we struggle to find ways to be unique, I think where we strive to be unique is in service provision and in personalization like that, providing good service and customer retention just to keep us unique in that way. Yeah.
Great. Becky?
I don't disagree with what's been said before at all. I think combining that with the integration piece, so obviously technically integrated, but also that personal integration, so you get the same thing online or something similar online that you can in reality as well.
Brilliant. And finally, Anne-Marie and Emer?
Yeah, I think same sort of thing, really, just personalizing everything and making the experience, the online shopping experience, unique. We always put in a little handwritten note and wrap our gifts up for people. So I think that they know and address them by their name, or you know, if it's a gift for somebody else, we can write it to whomever it's being sent to. So I think it's just so it's, you know, it's not your stuff that you're getting from Amazon that's thrown into a box probably by a robot or something. Someone's taken the time and the care to you know, wrap your gift and put a nice little note in and to thank them as well for the business, and in the hope that, you know, that they enjoy the product and that they'll come back again.
Brilliant. John, very interesting podcast again today. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we're not disappointed, guys, at all in terms of the range of pieces of nuggets of information that we sort of overturned today. To me, there were three sort of takeaways. I listened to the conversation this morning. One is, you know, where you have a loyal customer base, you know, you can bring them online, you can serve them online, you can use that customer base, work with that customer base to grow your online business. It's and that fits very much, I think, with what Becky was saying about what they did in Fishers, as well as having a really strong infrastructure and everything glued together in the right way, because everybody expects it to be seamless, everybody expects it to work. The second big thing is really about being different. You know, like the old Jack Walsh comment, you know, you can't compete, don't. And you know, the best way of competing is very much to be different and to provide something that other people can't. And certainly in terms of the two brands and products between, you know, Holly and Willie and the Wild Atlantic Wicks, you know, very different products, focused in on their particular audience and well delivered from that point of view. So that's got to be a cornerstone of the success of those businesses. And then service, you know, being whether it be Cope or indeed the bicycles, you know, in terms of what George or Robert are doing. That's the other thing there is we are, like, service is such an important part of the online experience, because it's the only way you can, you don't have that personal face-to-face contact. So every interaction, everything that you do with that customer has to be top-notch and has to be done with care. And that's really key to differentiating yourself and giving you a long-term chance at survival and success, and building those new customers, those initial customers, and nurture them into raving fans and people who keep coming back to the business year after year, and therefore, you know, help you build something that's profitable. So there would be my 3 takeaways today, Brendan, and hey, thank you to everybody for great contributions.
Thanks, guys. So thanks to everybody. That wraps up our podcast for today. And we'll talk to you all again, hopefully, and best of luck to all.